and welcome to another episode of One Miss Pod. I'm Kelly Warner.
I'm Zack Long.
And today we're joined by a guest, writer for Scriptophobic and also writer of fiction and short stories, Rachel Bolton.
Hello.
Hi.
Really nice to be here today.
Yeah, how's it going, Rachel?
It's going pretty good. The weather down here in Massachusetts is very warm and it's windy. It's the perfect day to record a podcast about a spooky horror movie.
Yeah.
See, the weather here in Nova Scotia is way too damn hot, and I am just a walk-in sauna. It's the worst day to do anything.
I mean, it's around 60 degrees here Fahrenheit. I forget. I'm American.
I don't know your American numbers.
Yeah.
Your 666 demonic temperatures. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, happy to be here at last. Talk about one of my favorite found footage movies.
Yeah, no, this is a great movie. We're going to be talking about Noroi, The Curse, the 2005 found footage fake documentary horror film from Japan from Koji Shiraishi. It's a great film, and you wrote an excellent piece on Scriptophobic about it before, Rachel.
Yeah, I did. Back in January, before 2020 really got weird, I wrote for my column Holy Horror because I wanted to write about some, non-Abrahamic religion for the first one. So Noroi is about, I guess, when folk religion has a dark side in Japan, and it was a really enjoyable article to write, and I think it got the series off on the right foot.
Yeah, it's a great article, and we'll share that link with the podcast. What other stuff have you written?
So the most recent thing that I've had out is that my roommate Ryan Valentine has a webcomic called Poetry Comics, where usually he adapts in the public domain poems into brief comics of various styles and genre, but every once in a while he'll do something else. So I wrote a tribute to the EC horror comics from the 50s, Tales from the Crypt. So I wrote a tribute to that. It's the second one that we've done together. If you are curious in reading it, it's called She Came Back. The link is available on my Twitter page. My Twitter name is at Ray Bolt, so RAEBOLT. And you can also find my website as well. I've got some short stories there you can check out too.
Excellent. I'm trying to think of, should we just move right into the movie, or is there anything catch up from the week that was, Zack?
I tried to commit suicide twice, so it's not a really fun topic, so let's not bring that one up.
So there was an election, and I hope you voted.
But also just as much fun.
You're not American though, right? You're
I am.
Right?
I'm
you
American.
Are American? Okay.
I'm the only Canadian involved in the Canadian website that I run.
I just have Canadian vibes.
You do. You have the chill vibes.
I'm from Illinois, though. No.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
I voted. I voted for Biden confidently. I'm from Massachusetts, and I live in a very blue dot inside of a blue dot. So I wasn't worried about any sort of civil unrest or anything.
Yeah.
But once the election was called, people were honking their horns and cheering in the street outside my job, which was nice.
Yeah. I live in a red area of a blue state, and so
that's never fun.
No, it's not especially, but And then Zack is up, there just looking down at us crazy people. Well, it's been so long, Zack.
Yeah, all I've seen 2020 is people protested in the streets, and rightfully so for most of them.
Right, yeah.
But it's a real nice twist to be go through my Twitter, and instead of seeing police beat some young black kid, I get to see people coming together and dance into Christmas songs.
I know, the gritty memes. I love those.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them.
They're very funny. I know. I will not really follow hockey, but I as someone I live outside of Boston, so I'll cheer for the Bruins, but I also cheer for the Philadelphia Flyers just because I love Gritty.
But yeah, it's been a long that was the longest fucking Tuesday of our
Oh my
lives.
god, yes.
And I'm glad that we're on the other side of it. I think. I don't know. It's difficult to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking about Noroi. Before we go much further, I'm going to mention that this is going to be my last episode for a little while. I will be back. I don't know when. I'm going on a momentary hiatus, and Zack is going to hold down the fort with numerous guests in the meantime.
It should be a good one. I got a few guests lined up, and I have a couple interesting movies. Possibly, well, what's that movie called? Like 964 Pinocchio,
I've
and
never seen that.
also cyberpunk erotic horror.
Yeah, you keep on
Ooh, that
trying to
sounds
get me to
fun.
see it, but I just never have. But,
I
yeah.
haven't actually watched it myself either. It just
Oh!
looks super interesting to me.
Okay, all right.
I've just been interested in watching it.
Yeah.
And then another one that we're looking at, actually I was watching just before this, is Uzumaki.
Is that going to be next week?
I'm looking and hoping to be able to get a recording in before that. So if this one comes out a week after recording, then yeah,
Oh.
it should be about a week after this drops.
So when you said Uzumaki, is that connected at all to the Junji Ito comic?
It's a direct adaptation, so much so that there's a random insert shot where they like look at a missing flyer and it's for a guy named Junji Ito.
Oh, okay, that's actually really cool because I love Junji Ito. I love him so much.
I like 2/3 of his work. Mostly Acts 1 and 2. Act 3 never ever works in any of the ones I've read by him, and I've read most of them.
I like his short comics a lot. He just had a new one come out called Venus in the Blind Spot.
Oh.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. I haven't read that yet. Is it any good?
Oh yeah, it's good. I think you can really see that he's developed a bit more as an artist. Like if you read his Tomii collection,
That's my
stories,
favorite of his.
I like Tomii too, but you can really see how his art changes over time, and he has a little less of the whole the same face syndrome, which, you know, as much as I love Junji Ito, he's not very good at drawing different faces.
I never actually had that problem. My big problem is he doesn't know how to finish a story for the life of him. He knows how to come up with a great idea. Absolutely brilliant idea, and then he takes it up to he builds it up to a point and then doesn't know what to do with it, and so he's like, well, now I have to end this, and it never works. Uzumaki being the most egregious example.
It's been too long since I saw the movie or read the comics manga to remember how it ends. Yeah, I didn't like the movie, but yeah.
No, it has a lot of interesting elements, and it takes a lot of visual moments. But
yes,
even within the film, they only play as singular moments. They don't come together to create a cohesive whole.
There's so many great visuals.
Or live action?
Live action. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
From 2001 and that. So Tomie had just been adapted to live action 2 years before. So this was really early in adapting. Well, Tomie might have been 98 or 97 actually, but it's really early into adapting his works, and so they had decent budgets. Like they were wide releases, but they just both Tomie 1 and Uzumaki both fail, and those ones I don't think are Ito's fault at all. That's how do you adapt something which is almost it's like a pastiche of a bunch of different stories. Like how do you make that into a thing without making it an anthology?
There is a new one, a new adaptation that's coming out about Uzumaki.
Yeah, it's a 4-part miniseries. That one,
okay,
the
cool.
Adult Swim.
I think so.
Adult Swim is doing. Yeah, I was actually, when I was looking to get a copy of it to watch, I found that they're doing 4 episodes. I don't know the length of the episodes. But
I'm excited
that
for that
should be interesting.
Yeah, me too. Right. Yeah.
That one is very
animated.
exciting.
Right.
Well, the last animated collection they did of Ito's stuff wasn't very good either, though. So this one's interesting because it's animated, but it's also Adult Swim. I don't think I've seen Adult Swim do real animated horror yet.
I'm not real
So
sure. I don't follow Adult Swim that closely, but yeah, it does seem like it's not common.
Yeah,
But
I don't have cable in my house, so yeah, I haven't watched Adult Swim late at night regularly since college, and that was a while ago.
no, yeah, but
anyway, though, none of
yeah,
this has
that's
anything to do
right.
with
That's for next
Noroi.
episode, really.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so we're gonna be talking about Noroi now. I love the film. I don't know anyone else. That's how
I
I'm going to
adore it
start this.
too.
But
Yep, all of us,
yeah,
all three of
yeah,
us do.
yeah. Okay. So
I thought it was one of the scariest movies I've ever watched.
yes, it is. I really thought so too.
I don't have that feeling. I do think that Japan's found footage, which is what this is among the most interesting found footage being produced because of the way that they link together all sorts of cultural artifacts in order to build their case. They don't just say, here's like somebody with a camera. They typically tend to be like, here's somebody with a camera that's like they're in it for they're creating some sort of artwork.
Right.
In this, it was a
documentarian.
That in the other one I think of is A Cult, in which it's also a documentary.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't that also
too.
Shiraishi? Yeah.
Yep. And so both of those actually are really fantastic in the way, like, it pulls from TV, it pulls from interviews for the documentary, it pulls from archival footage. Now, of course, it has created all of this footage, but the way that it strings it together, it makes it feel much more real than a lot of the found footage we see out of the West.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Noroi, like, it looks and feels like you're watching a real documentary, because it doesn't really go into like the found footage part of it until the ending, and then it's like, I think the ending is absolutely terrifying as well.
Yeah, so much of the time with other found footage, it's like, why are you still holding the camera? In this one, it makes sense, and sometimes you it feels like, to me, one of those, and like an extended episode of Unsolved Mysteries that fucked me up as a kid.
It does. All you need is like Robert Stack, but I think that Kobayashi, in my my article about Noroi, I think he's a fantastic protagonist because he's just a nice person. He's very nice to everybody that he meets, even Hori, the mentally disturbed tinfoil hat guy. And I think that
he's very nice to him. It's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that character a lot. But
I think
he reminds me a little of the character from Ju-on.
Who does it remind you of in Ju-on?
In the Ju-on series that we did, it reminds me of the paranormal investigator in that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, kind of.
Like it feels like before this film, I haven't seen a whole lot of this caricature but it seems like the well-meaning detective on the case of the paranormal is a stereotypical character in Japan now.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch more Asian horror and specifically Japanese horror lately, but I think Noroi was probably one of my first introductions to it, besides like Perfect Blue, but I really wouldn't consider Perfect Blue like your usual Japanese horror movie.
Well, I would put it on the podcast, though. Absolutely. If nothing else, to talk about the fact that the Perfect Blue, the book, is just a straight serial killer stalking story. Like, the difference between the book and the animated feature that was put out is worlds apart. Like, the Perfect Blue book is shit. The Perfect Blue movie is a masterpiece.
Oh, well, you know what? I think I want to go watch it again after this. Like, my for my birthday last year, my boyfriend, he actually got me a vintage French Perfect Blue movie poster, and it's great. Nice. It's hanging on my wall. I have yet to make him watch it, the movie, though. So he was
make
just like,
him.
This is cool. Yeah, I don't need to make him do anything, but it was just sort of like, he didn't understand, some of the important visuals on the posters, and it's on my wall now.
Before we go much further on discussion about Noroi, perhaps we should tell people what the movie is about.
I
Just a little bit
agree.
more.
I
Yeah.
agree as well.
Does anybody want to try that or?
No.
Um, I can try.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, well, I was gonna say that it's a horror mockumentary that it has like a framing device where you're told what happens to Masafumi Kobayashi, the paranormal researcher. Like, um, his house burned down, his wife died, and he's disappeared after he was working on this documentary called Noroi. And when the footage is found, you're watching the documentary he was working on. So there's like the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then the story ends, and then you get a little like found footage. What actually happened the
You
night
get
his
like a
house
post
burned
credit.
down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like a post credit scene.
It's
So
like
most
a tape that's sent to his producers or something,
yes,
right? Yeah.
yeah, and then
you know
watch
what it
it.
reminds me of? It reminds me of last week's One Cut of the Dead, where it's like stay after the credits. Like
Yeah,
when the
yeah, kinda.
documentary is done, the movie's not over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. But he kind of Kobayashi, he investigates this very weird woman named Junko and her son after her neighbor complains of crying babies coming from her house.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it's revealed that the woman who asked Kobayashi to investigate, she and her daughter die in a horrible car accident. So all
I
of like
love
these
that part.
Yeah.
same that like really, it's like just suddenly stated that
It's
they're dead.
chilling. Yeah.
It is. So much of this movie is chilling. So a lot of it is just him investigating these random creepy paranormal events, and he starts to realize that it might be connected to this demon known as what's his name?
Kabutaba, was it?
Kabutaba, yes. Who's really creepy because you never actually see him. I mean, you
Mm-mm.
see him for like a second, and that's enough to scare you.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So he just eventually tries to recreate the folk ritual of this town that is now underwater, and since they haven't been able to perform the
Someone
ritual,
done fucked up.
he's the demon. Kagutaba is upset. So I don't want to go into too many details, because that kind of ruins the experience a bit if you've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
I think that gives us enough though to really
Yeah, no,
look
it
at
absolutely
like what
does,
we
yeah.
have is we have a story about a demon ritual that is related, that is linked directly to the past, and that, which is very interesting in what you were saying too. Like the ritual that it shows is actually very, very interesting in the way that they show it, and they fuck with it when they don't realize what they're doing. Is very interesting in regards to the idea of, as your article says, like the dark side of sort of folk. Why did I just blank out the word? Not mythology, but the other one.
I said folk rituals.
Ritual. Thank you. That's
like
I was just blanking. But like the dark side of that folk ritual comes not from the people who are doing the ritual itself, but by the fact that later people who have no idea what they're doing come in to try to fuck with this. They think they understand and they know what they're doing right, and they have no idea. If it wasn't a Japanese movie, but we had like a white man come in there, we'd look at it as being like, well, it's very clear what it's saying here. But one thing that doesn't get looked at is the idea that like the character that we have coming in is a very educated character who comes from the city, who now has gone to the rural area in order to impose what he thinks as educated from the city is correct, without really paying attention to what the locals themselves and that are all about. He basically ignores it along the way in order to be like, well, I know what's right, we got to do this, and fuck everything up.
And then he's not even doing it. Kobayashi never really acts out of any sense of like, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, I guess snootiness would be a word for it. Like he does listen to what the folk historian has to say about the ritual, but we got to talk about Kana, the little psychic girl who gets kidnapped. Because I think one of the like creepiest lines in a horror movie ever is just when Kana says, "Well, it's just too late for us anyway."
Yeah.
Right at
Yeah.
the beginning of the movie, she just casually says it, and you're like, it's like, due to the framing device, this is all going to go wrong. But, even
Yeah.
when you're watching, you're still hoping that there's going to be some kind of a happy ending.
Yeah. And so that kind of so at the beginning of the movie we are kind of introduced to this side character Kana, this child psychic, and she kind of figures into the curse. It's see, one of the things that's interesting is the fact that how some of these people from the city are affected by the curse when a lot of them never went there. It's like the curse is just reaching out and affecting random
Mm-hmm.
people. But so she goes missing, and then that leads to the other super psychic who's mentally disturbed, Mr. Heroi, who he's right, but he's just not well. And
Amazing performance, though.
it's so good. Oh my god, yes.
I think that like in my article, I said that a lesser movie would have played him for laughs.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah. And no, see, it's so raw that's part of one of the reasons why you kind of forget sometimes you're watching fiction, and you actually feel like you're watching some sort of documentary sort of thing. But yeah, he starts talking about the worms and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and how
Ectoplasmic worms!
yeah. It's
That comes back in Occult.
Yeah, no, it does. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I until you said it right now, I didn't realize that in Occult, he's literally referencing the conversation with the crazy guy from this.
I need to see
Well, I
that
really got to
again.
check out Occult now.
Yeah,
so Occult is great. You can find it on YouTube. 2009,
okay.
I think. It's found footage about like the people basically they start investigating an attack, and that leads them down a rabbit hole, much the same way this starts with one case and leads down a rabbit hole.
Writer director Koji Shiraishi, who mostly does horror, maybe exclusively does horror, seems to do 3 types of horror. He does like the kind of the haunted curse girl sort of J horror along the lines of
Down with it.
Yeah, it's like stuff like Tiki Tiki and Jurei the Uncanny.
No, do not want.
And then he does
Tiki.
And then he does the extreme torture porn stuff like Grotesque, which I despise that movie.
Absolutely fucking despise everything about that movie. Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And then he does the found footage stuff, which I think is very much it's his best thing. Yeah. And Noroi is his best of those that I've seen. I mean, he's not the easiest director of films to track down in the West. I found more of his stuff on YouTube than other places, and that's not so cool.
Yeah, same.
This was only his second feature film, I guess.
Really? He did a really good job with it.
Wait,
yeah.
I thought he did. Oh no, I'm thinking Tiki Tiki's what, like 2005?
Yeah, 2009.
And that's
this
the
was
one.
2005. But yeah.
Okay, Tiki Tiki's the one that he made the sequel to, not his first one then, because there's the Uncanny he did.
Right, he did that was his first film, The Uncanny, and then he did a couple of shorts and like a segment and some horror anthology, and then Noroi. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I thought that he must have. I thought there was a sequel to, The Uncanny, but I guess not.
There might be, but maybe it's not by him. I don't really know. But,
yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, and he did Carved. I forgot he did that. That's a very weird movie.
I've not seen that, but I know the it's one of those urban legends, right?
Yeah, it's based on the slit mouth woman.
That sold me there. I gotta check
it is a good
was a
movie.
Really creepy story.
Yeah.
Well, make sure though you get the one from 2007 called Carved, because there's another one that's similar, like in the similar era, and it definitely uses the same girl, but it started off a series of sex films basically. Oh. So you can pick the wrong slit mouth woman movie and end up in a porno.
Ooh, yeah. All right, I don't really think that's gonna be what I want to do.
No, that's why I'm saying be careful with that one.
We should make a list of all the movies we've talked about for this episode. What are we talking about
Yeah, okay.
I would have to do that for every other episode, and it's like I'm not bringing my ADHD into control. What are you talking about? Have either of you, though, speaking of his found footage, have either of you seen Shirome?
Let me
No, I
see.
haven't.
Sure. Yes, I have.
Is that any good? I've been on my list for a while now.
So it's I like it. It's not as good as Occult or Noroi. It's a little bit more kind of mainstream, sort of, kind of, I don't know. It it feels much more like a Hollywood found footage film, but that's not to say it's necessarily bad, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It actually mixes in with a couple others because it's about characters who are playing themselves from the Japanese idol group. And there's a couple other. It's not a cult. There's one called Cult, which
Yeah,
does that, and then there's another one that's like Ghost Film or something, where like the
yeah.
idols make it, and then at the third act is them in the theater like watching it and realizing by filming it they let it out.
And there's some of that sort of in this film. The actress character, Marika, is playing herself as a actress that's haunted by the curse, and that Kobayashi has to help. So it seems to be something
So
that,
she's playing herself in that.
yeah, she is playing
Yeah.
herself.
Oh, okay. That's really cool. She does a good job.
Yeah, no, she does. Yeah, yeah.
I've always been a big fan of when you do like a found footage film, if you're able to get people to play themselves, that also kind of, I guess, makes the fourth wall a little thinner. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it more real.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, there's appearances in the movie, of Japanese TV, Japanese television, including stuff with her appearing on it, and it's like including
Mm-hmm.
some unaired episodes and stuff, and it's like, we don't watch these shows. Of course, I'm going to believe that's a real show.
Yeah.
But
This would be different if, you are from Japan and you're like, wait a second, this is freaky.
yeah.
Whoa, okay. So I was just looking it up to find out, and the one with the idols that I was thinking of is also another of his films.
So it seems to be a theme.
But
He's
the
a
one
very prolific guy.
Yeah,
the one
right.
with the haunted film though is actually by Norio Tsuruda, Ring 2 guy.
Yeah.
Or Ring Zero guy. And so like everything we talked about in this has now tied together with itself and with the last couple episodes.
No, that's some like good planning.
You think I plan a single thing in my life? ADHD. Woo!
So we're gonna talk about creep. Oh, you go. I was gonna say we should talk about how creepy.
I was going to. Yeah.
I was gonna say how creepy the Kagutaba mask is.
Yeah,
That thing freaks me out.
But it's also simple, and I kind of like that.
Yeah,
about
actually, that's because
thanks.
it's simple. I wanted to ask, what is it about it that freaks you out? Because to me, I've always found it just looks. It doesn't freak me out. It makes me feel sad.
It reminds me of the little forest people from Princess Mononoke.
Same.
Oh, I see that 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like because it's sort of the uncanny valley that it's familiar enough to you that you recognize that it's a face, because it has like the mouth, the eyes, and the mouth hole. But they're very like creepy and inhuman, and especially when you see the faces when the Kagutaba face shows up in the background of some of the scenes, or in that one clip where Marika goes out to the abandoned shrine with those two guys, and it's sort of like he's been standing there in the background the whole time. You're like,
it's kind of scary.
I don't know. I just think that it's also the fact that it's like red, and it's kind of has like that fleshy, dead look to it. It's not quite a skull, but it's still just. I feel like it just kind of hits you like in that primal spot where it's like there's something really wrong with this face.
One of the other things I like that where it's, to me, just sort of chilling and bizarre is, like you mentioned about the family that suddenly they died in a car crash 5 days later. There's a
Hmm.
lot of that sort of stuff popping up. For example, when um, they track down this bizarre plot thread regarding pigeons.
Oh
Um,
my god, the pigeons.
to, yeah, right.
I
To the
forgot about that.
to this guy that's out there grabbing pigeons off the balcony violently and everything, and then we later find out that he hangs himself, and also so did the neighbor of someone else, one of the other characters, and it's like it's just it has this sort of I don't know, a cold yeah, it's kind of cold in the way that it just sort of dispatches side characters, and that's why it feels like, you mentioned about how Kobayashi goes to the village and he doesn't know what he's messing with as he's trying to recreate stuff, but he's kind of desperate because people are dropping like flies all around him and they don't understand it.
Yeah, it's like he's not trying to do this to be right. He's doing this to stop the evil.
Yeah, like he's trying to
I
save
want to.
Marika and others, but yeah.
Hmm.
I just want to say though, when you say like people are dropping like flies, one of the things that could get mistaken if you haven't seen this film is to think like, oh, so we're getting a bunch of like horror movie death scenes, but what we're
True,
actually
no.
getting is a much more realistic like, oh, we left there, and then when we called later to like find out about stuff, they're dead. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not we captured this terrifying thing. It's just like
right.
it's really bizarre that people keep ending up dead, and there's nothing that actually that links it in a criminal sense. It's not like, oh, this
Mm-mm.
they died of suffocation or they died of whatever that the other thing died of. It's like, oh, they died in a car crash. That's perfectly normal.
Yeah, and it's all spread out, and almost everything is off screen except until probably the ending, and
Oh.
also stuff in the woods, but
Hmm.
but
I think that it does have a very, you're watching a true crime
mhm.
documentary
Yeah,
feel to
right.
it because,
Yeah.
if you watch, I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. Don't judge me. Most of the time they don't show like actual crime scene
Mm-mm.
photos
Mm-mm.
or footage, and like when they do, it's either like blurred out or they're showing it. Um, I think not maybe to shock you, but sort of like that they're acknowledging that showing you this is very, very serious.
Mm.
Yeah. Because I've seen a few where they're like, "We're going to show you this anyway," and you're like, "Ooh, yeah, that
There,
that hits really hard."
there's there's one instance in this film where it does sort of show a crime scene photo and it's not blurred out and it's kind of grotesque, and to me it just sort of seemed more like uh
Which one was
just
that again? Sorry.
um that was I don't know if I want to spoil too much, but it was the character found dead in the vents.
Oh my god, I was like, it's the
Oh,
vent guy.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
ugh.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like maybe Japanese tabloids print stuff differently than we do, but yeah.
Mhm.
Our, you know what, North American tabloids and that showed me Belushi's death and like the
Oh,
pictures of his bloated corpse. So I don't
hmm.
know if I think it's just tabloid in general.
Okay, yeah, maybe
Like
so.
that's what tabloids have going is like their willingness to throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fascination that we have with things, with morbid things, whether we
It's the slowing
realize it
down
or
past a car crash.
Mm-hmm.
oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know. Like my eighth grade social studies teacher, to kind of get everybody's attention, she was like, "We're gonna watch the Zapruder film today, unedited," and we're like, "All right." And we got a bunch of 14-year-olds watching JFK's head explode, and we all reacted as 14-year-olds would, with like, I
Whoa,
lived near
dude!
there. Yeah, I lived in a red square in a blue state, so I guess, yeah,
We're
the
gonna look
vent
what happens
guy.
when you don't listen to the cigarette smoking man.
Yeah, the
That one was just for you, Kel.
I'm trying to think of other stuff from the film. I'm sorry. Trying to keep.
are we talking about the dogs?
Oh, that's a great setup and then scare. because
Mhm.
it's like 3 stages. It's like, "Oh, look at all these dogs." And it's like, as an American, it's sort of like, yeah, they're dogs. They're cute, you know? And then suddenly the
Yeah,
dogs are
cute
gone.
puppy.
Yeah, and why are all the dogs gone? And then we find out
Why
why
Mhm.
the
am I
fucking
not
dogs are
remembering
gone.
the Why am I not remembering the dogs? I
Oh my
didn't
god.
watch this that long ago.
Okay, so,
Remember, Kobayashi goes in the woods and they find that all of the dogs have been killed because the dogs kind of act
Oh,
as
oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay,
yeah.
yep, yep.
But
yeah,
leading up to that, they're going to the old woman Junko's neighborhood, and it's like everyone has dogs outside, and then when they come back there, all the dogs are gone, and there's just empty dog houses and everything. It's kind of an eerie image.
I don't want to say too much on this topic for
Mm.
the
same.
reasons of spoilers, but I just want to say, can we just take a moment and acknowledge how terrifying fetal children are?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't want to
That
spoil it either, but that
but
scene, that was
that
like,
image is like, ugh.
That image is pretty much the first image you find when you look this up on Google, and so
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it
it's
it
you. I don't mind talking about the image. I just don't want to spoil like how it
sure,
comes
no, no,
about
the
in
no,
con
the
I
the
hear you.
narrative.
context.
Yeah, no, it's very disturbing, and it's sort of like that was to me the movie escalating and saying, "Yep, we're going that extra level now," and
Yeah.
that was disturbing, yeah, and
And he
then
did
Well,
it well though.
oh,
yeah,
for
no,
sure.
yeah, yeah, and then the implication of all what was going on is even worse, but yeah.
I forget the exact term for it, but in my article when I wrote about Noroi, the fact that with all like the babies, I thought that it was like a corruption of a ritual called the water baby ritual, and like a lot of
Mm,
in Japan and some other practicing Buddhist countries, that after an abortion, a miscarriage, stillbirth, or some other infant loss, you make a sacrifice to Jizo, the Bodhisattva who protects children. So it's because like the idea that it's called a water baby because if water is life and the baby has returned to water. So I
mm,
thought that that was sort of like a creepy corruption of what is usually like I think a very peaceful ritual.
that's interesting, yeah, no,
Hmm.
what I know that you've written about other sort of rituals and folklore and cult sort of stuff. Is there anything else in real world, whether it be Japan or otherwise, that this kind of connects back to in your mind? Noroi the
Hmm.
film in general, um, or Zach.
I
I know
guess.
you're big on cults.
Oh yeah, I know I am very big on cults. I think that I think one of the conflicts in Noroi is the whole idea of sort of like the downfall of like small villages and small
Mm-hmm.
communities versus the changing of times and sort of like urban development. Like the village is
Right.
gone because they flooded it, and that was a
Yeah.
bad idea. The shrine is fallen into disrepair.
Right.
um the history of why the ritual is important has kind of fallen away. Like the
Mm-hmm.
historian that Kobayashi talks to says that, oh yeah, the last guy who did it, he's been dead for years and years.
Yeah.
So I
I
guess
want to
that's sort of
point out that it's
that's
very
it.
interesting that the ritual already began to be corrupted, though, did it not?
Yeah. Well, the last
In our
time
Yeah.
went
last
bad.
experience, yeah, and so even before the burying up, you could read a paranoid sort of look at what happened, like, oh shit, we can't hide this god anymore. So
Hmm.
then let us bury him underwater.
And
Maybe this will free us from him then.
didn't the historian kind of sort of put out there the idea that people, superstitious people, thought the thing went bad because Kabutaba knew that this would be the last one? I thought he put that out there as an
Maybe
idea.
it's been a
I,
while
He
since I've
might
watched
have.
the movie.
yeah.
I did watch it recently, but I did not pick up on that one. What's actually really interesting ultimately is that there is actually, you talked about how the mask invokes the uncanny valley for you, but one of
Mm,
the
Hmm.
interesting things is like in a sense, the mask, first off, it is a mask. It's designed to hide. So whatever he is, it's assumedly beneath this mask. And then we have a moment where we kind of see what that means
Mm-hmm.
near
Mm-hmm.
the end. But it helps to sort of highlight the idea of the unknown. We have a if what you say, Kel, is right, and I'm going to just assume that it is,
Mm.
then we have a character who is saying like, well, here is why this happened, but
He doesn't
this
know.
is this is yeah, it's similar to Pulse again,
Right,
where
yeah.
what we're getting is expectation, or we're getting explanations from people who are involved in it and don't actually have all the answers. They're taking their best guesses, and that's the closest that we as an audience tend to get,
Yeah.
because we are actually being put into the same place as the characters. We know as little as they do, and we have to try to pierce it together the same way that they are, and so we will have our own guesses, which may or may not be correct, and it could be closer or further from what the people in the film said. There's just no actual way to know. And so at the core, that mask is perfect because of the fact of its representation of unknown, of the hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you do get like the briefest glimpse of Kagutaba, it's freaky, and you're like, oh, no wonder nobody wanted to look at him, before. And I think that's good, because I think that like not seeing the monster
Mm.
is always best. I think, because I think that it loses a little something when you get like a real,
Mm-hmm.
good glimpse at what the demon looks like.
Yeah, I mean that's horror writing 101 right there.
Right,
Like
yeah.
it, like you in your first scene, and that if you're doing like let's say a typical slasher type or monster type, in your first scene,
Mm-hmm.
a character's gonna like look off camera, scream, and something's gonna happen to them. The next monster scare, you're gonna see like an arm or a tentacle or something, just enough so people feel like they know it a little more, so that when you build up to that third act and you reveal it, then you have to finish the movie very quickly, because the longer there is between showing the monster and ending the movie, the more time there is for people to find out that your monster is really just silly.
I think that also, like, when it comes to like Jaws, like you don't see the
Mm.
shark until like the ending, but by the time it hits the ending, it's kind of shifted from like we gotta hunt down this monster to almost like a bit of an action movie. So because of like the genre shift within the movie, you can forgive the fact that you're seeing more of the shark, because the shark is fucking everybody up, and they gotta fight the shark.
It is
You know?
really crazy though that you use Jaws, because the only reason that we didn't see the shark in the fucking first scene was because their mechanical shark didn't work. It's like they had to fuck up to realize like, oh no, this is
This
how
is
we should have done
better.
it.
This is better.
Yeah. um Earlier Zach was talking about how the modern world man coming to the old culture, and for that matter the dam and flooding the area, how that fucks things up. And you mentioned about how, if this was a Western film, about how this would probably be, the white guy fucking things up for a different culture. And to me, I think that might be almost an example of one of the differences between uh, Western horror and Asian horror. Is so much of Western horror, at least aware Western horror, seems to recognize it's about racism and colonialism and other things, of new cultures rubbing out the old one. And Japan, uh, doesn't have. Well, yeah, Japan.
There's the I think I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, the Ainu people.
Yeah, yeah. There's stuff, but they don't like to. It's not as much something that's it's not
Talked
as well
about as
known
much.
yet, talked about by them, or definitely by us. But but
Hmm.
but in its place in their horror seems to be always this sort of thing where the city person, to solve this curse, has to go to the rural areas and to the past. And like, you find that in this
Yeah,
one, you find that in Ring, you find that in a whole
it's
bunch
in
of.
Kakashi.
Yeah.
I was just looking up a couple like when I was looking up the occult ones, I was like, oh yeah, you see that
Mm-hmm.
in these, and it's like, yeah, they're it's everywhere. It's like what it's like what Japan's big issue is sort of modernity versus the
Yeah.
old, which makes sense when you think about how Japan just like shot up in the 90s to be like the head of modernization. Like they embraced futurization.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not surprising that we see that for a country that's embracing the future so much, but to have come from a thing with where everything had a spirit in it, and there was the past was all around you and you were surrounded by the spirits of the past, to suddenly now we're looking at the future. There is a huge schism between there that
Right.
horror seems to be trying to rectify.
Yeah, and horror seems to be about kind of like the past kind of being unearthed, and kind of, like your fucking cell phone might now have a ghost from the past, shit like
Mhm.
that. But so no, I think that's one of the interesting things about Japanese horror, maybe Asian horror in general, is it is about uh the modern world kind of coming to terms with the past, and or being fucked over by it. But uh,
I think of I don't know if you guys have ever seen, this is not Asian horror
hmm.
example, so shame on me. But have you guys watched have you watched Ghost Watch at all?
Ghost.
Of
Oh,
course.
yeah, yeah. The the
Yeah,
the
like
uh,
a
the
hundred
BBC
times. We
thing.
talked about that on one of the podcasts recently,
Yeah.
actually.
Oh, okay, I wanted to find that. Yeah, I love Ghost Watch. For those who don't know what it is, real briefly, is that it was a kind of like a War of the Worlds situation where the BBC made this mockumentary that looked and felt a little too real, and it caused a huge
Mm-hmm.
controversy because it had
Well,
people playing themselves.
the reason though that it works is because they didn't just make a mockumentary and be like, here it is. They made a mockumentary that was in a format to be as if you could call in and it was a live show in live studios. So they tricked
Hmm.
people into thinking not only was it real, but that it was also a live event.
Oh, yeah.
And it led
Yeah.
somebody to murder themselves because of it.
What?
They killed themselves thinking that the ghost was real and actually in their home.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
fuck.
unfortunately a mentally handicapped
Mm.
young man took
That's
his
why
life.
they never showed it again on that network.
Yeah,
Um.
I mean it is very good, and back to the whole technology thing is the reason why the ghost kind of shows up to really ruin it for everybody is because by having this quote unquote live show and people calling in, they've created a UK sized seance and
Mm-hmm.
gave the ghost all of that power. So versus like a bunch of people holding hands around a table, you've got a whole country of people all watching it. So the ghost has been helped by for 1992 standards, the technology of the time.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, the only difference between the 1992 version of it and the modern day version is that that one was on live TV and the modern day version would be on YouTube. And we know this
Or
because
Twitter.
the middle version was on a VHS.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mhm. It's
But
really interesting to see how it changes.
yeah. And that was a found footage one, and kind of, now I don't want to say one of the first, but it was ahead of its time. Um
It was mockumentary, and
yeah.
it together with Cannibal Holocaust
Mm,
is very responsible for it, because in that they literally have to find footage and then watch the found footage. And
mm.
then there's Ghost Watch, and then there was the last broadcast in '97, followed by Blair Witch in '99, and those together basically
Yeah.
helped. But until Paranormal Activity happened, we didn't have much, though there was still like the last horror film, which I highly recommend. Oh, and also '93 had Man Bites Dog, which was very influential
Oh, I
in
remember that
the
one.
genre,
Um
because Belgium horror.
yeah, do you consider Noroi found footage? I do. I mean, I know it's got that
I
documentary
do,
mockumentary
yes.
thing, but
Same. I
yeah.
think there's a lot of overlap between the genres
Mhm.
because usually, like the horror mockumentary, there is some sort of found footage element to it. Like Lake Mungo is mostly a
Right.
mockumentary, but
Yeah.
you know what scene I'm talking about at the
I
very
I
Mhm.
end. That scene freaked me out. That is a
Yeah,
found
me
footage
too.
moment where you get kind
I
of get
think that it's. Oh, sorry.
yeah. That
Sorry,
was it.
this delay. I think that it's actually, for me, what it is the case where Found footage is less about actually finding footage and more about there's a great book. Actually, it's by Alexandra Hellers Nicholas, because I can't plug her enough apparently. But she did a book on found footage, in which what she argues about found footage, and I got to paraphrase this though, is essentially we recognize that it's fake, but we interact in it in a form of pretending it's real, that we don't like to a level more than we do with a normal film. And I feel that the mockumentary or the actual found footage style both hit the same thing. So to me, I kind of put them both together as the same genre because they
Yeah,
have
I
the
would
same
too.
effect within the brain.
Yeah, no. And I think that they're not as dramatic as a horror film that tries to a typical narrative film, but they're more visceral because you do kind of go along with it more and you kind of forget the movie trappings a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I reviewed it. I read about it for Scriptophobic a few years ago. But did any of you guys watch The Devil's Doorway? It's, I think, one of the first
No, not yet.
instances of sort of like a historical, quote unquote, looking found footage film, because it takes place in 1950 and it's filmed on, authentic film from that time period. It's about a pair of priests who go to a Magdalen laundry in Ireland
Oh
because
yeah.
they think someone's reported that the statue of the Virgin Mary is crying blood, and
Mhm.
well, it just gets worse from there for but it has all of, like, the usual found footage kind of tropes, the talking heads, the
Mhm.
jump scares, but it looks like it's, from the past and not made just a few years ago because of
Right.
the film.
Mhm.
Because I think it is limiting, like how far back you can go with, like, a found footage horror movie. I mean, it would be pretty cool to see, like, a pretend found footage film of, like, I don't know, sailors on a doomed ship way back when, but you're
Mhm.
limited by the
Right.
fact that nobody had, cameras.
Yeah. This is Noroi is probably my favorite found footage horror film ever. I think that it
Damn.
just no, it is. I
No,
really
no, I
think
know. I mean, I'm like, damn, in that, but I get it.
yeah, I just rate it really highly. I seem to watch it every year now. And it I still find it chilling and interesting, and there's new little threads to pull every time you watch it. And no, I just think that I think it's really well done, and one of the sort of I feel like on the internet a lot of people know of this movie now, but outside the internet, outside of like film Twitter shit, um it's not really well known yet, and so it's one that I like kind of introducing people to.
Oh, same. I've introduced a couple people to this one. Same thing with, like, a lot of other found footage films, because I feel
Mhm.
I'm a huge sucker for the genre, anything with, like, horror mockumentaries or even, like, non-horror mockumentaries, because I
Mm.
don't know, they're always entertaining as well. But I think that the genre gets, like, a lot of disrespect because there are some really bad found footage films,
Sure,
but it's sort
yeah.
of like any other genre. There are the good ones, the classics.
Mhm.
uh you know I will always, shill for it, because I think it kind of, I don't know, feeds a part of my brain that kind of likes the lack of the fourth wall. Like, you're more
Mhm.
of a participant than a viewer, and you can be really creative with it, I think.
Mhm.
I want to play the devil's advocate
Hmm.
on that. First off though, I love found footage, so like that is where
Hmm.
I lay on that. I agree with what you said, but I'm gonna play the devil's advocate because you mentioned that it seems to get more hate than some other genres. So why is that? And I think that probably the key reason for that is the fact that there is a like the style itself is distinctly kind of non-style, like, and
Mm.
so you don't have a lot of the visual flair that you see in a lot of movies. On top of that, where you would have a lot of lockdown and very precise camera movements, you have a lot of shakiness. And I know
Mm.
that there are a lot of people, like both my mom and my dad cannot watch these films for that reason. than that. But what they perceive when they look at the shakiness, they perceive that as low quality, not in and of itself, not realizing that what it could be actually doing is say like this is low quality in the diegetic universe, which is what we're supposed to be getting away. They see it as low quality of the film as a whole. And so what's actually would be for somebody like us who enjoys these and understands what they're doing, we would look at this and go, this is a sign of them going for authenticity, where a general movie watching public doesn't have that sort of thought thing. They see like, oh, this is low quality, this is shitty.
Yeah, no, I think that that's totally fair. And I also think one of the other reasons why uh, found footage kind of got some detractors within the horror fan community is just that it oversat. There was just too many of them for a
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it was
low quality action.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it was just there was just a period where it was like, okay, enough, stop it, but now we can look back and enjoy the good ones and look forward to other ones that might be made.
Have you guys seen Hell House LLC?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the third one yet on that. My girlfriend hasn't seen them, so I'm planning to show her them.
Oh, good. Yeah, I showed my boyfriend the first two before the third one came out, and it was just really funny because he when he saw the clown, he just went, ugh. I think those are some of like the best found footage horror movies right now.
Yeah.
In the first one's still the best, but I will say that the quality might dip a little with the second and the third, but as a whole, they're all good movies. So,
you mentioned also the quality of Zack earlier, talking about the shaky cam quality of found footage. One of the things that about Noroi is okay, so this is streaming exclusively on Shudder and it probably will be for a long time, but it still hasn't gotten a DVD or Blu-ray release in the West.
Unfortunate.
That's a fucking crime.
But also when I'm watching the movie, I'm realizing, holy shit, the picture quality really does suck sometimes. And like it's like kind of probably inexpensive digital cameras being used at sometimes, and I can't help it.
Charm.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love this film. I just also kind of wonder how much a Blu-ray would even affect the film, or would it be giving us a totally different movie than what we see streaming on Shudder? But it is a shame, and I really hope that they put it out on disc because they're doing some other ones, so why not this one?
I think a Blu-ray would work on it too, because they wouldn't be like, they could refine the image that we see, but one of the reasons that the image quality sucks is because there's a lot of moments where all the information, the camera's not picking up any information, and so you can't actually like generate information there. So I think it would just be a really good quality out of focus ugly picture.
That's one of the things. Like I'm thinking about the scenes where they're running through the woods, and it's like the
woods.
It's very pixelated and everything, So it just would be interesting.
Well, they're in the dark and they don't have any real lights on, and so like they have to rely on the camera itself to fucking pick up the brightness essentially, and it does that at the cost of a picture quality. And so like the very way they're shooting is going to ensure that no matter how good a quality film they had, it would still look like this.
Yeah, and Kazutaba messes with the camera.
That's one of the things I hate it most. Oh. I absolutely, this is one of the few films that did it okay, just in the fact that when you see like the static in the camera, you actually see his face. But most of the time, I cannot, when it comes to found footage, I think that including like fake errors and fucking with the camera footage is among the cheapest and most pathetic excuses for trying to increase tension or drama. It's absolutely feels so phony. Cameras don't act like that. It's one of the biggest like pet peeves, and this film only gets around it because it directly links that phenomenon to the supernatural by having his face there. If it was just like, oh, look, my camera's doing that glitchy thing again, it's fucking get out of my face with that shit.
Yeah, did anyone else pause those scenes so they could get a good look at his face? And I was just like, ooh, regret.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I was watching it with somebody else who's on the other side of the country, so it would have been like, okay, pause it on 3. Oh shit, we missed it. Let's go back one.
But I think one of the reasons why also that scene kind of works, where like the interference is coming in, is partly because so much of the scene is really just about the actor playing Noroi just freaking out. And so it's just so much sound of him yelling about pigeons and Kana that the images of the mask coming in, it just kind of adds to the effect of this is weird. And I like
the girl, right?
The girl that goes missing.
Did we ever even mention the little boy?
No, we did not.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of a spoiler.
He's like not. He's like barely in it until suddenly you realize he's the most important thing.
Oh, that might have been too much to say, but I don't know. It seems like telling people where to look in the mystery and everything.
Yeah, but what is he? I don't even understand it. I just know that at some point it's like, oh, I guess I should have been paying attention to him more.
Well, and you can always edit this out, but like the little boy, he is the host for Kagutaba, and Junko was the servant, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was basically the demon almost the entire movie.
Yeah, because remember at the end of the movie, like when...
Oh, no, I remember I know exactly what happens. Yeah. That. My point is like the movie like really backgrounds him, and that so that there just becomes a point where you're like, oh, like it's basically pulling the wool in front of your eyes.
I really like when movies do that, when it's sort of like you were looking here, but you should have been looking somewhere else.
I think that part...
They do a good job with it too. It's
and I think that
like jarring.
Right, yeah, and I think that allows the character to be this abused child that everyone thinks that he is, to be innocently taken care of by our characters, and it's like you're letting the devil into your house, sort of thing, not knowing it. And we'll probably delete a lot of this stuff, but
we'll just put up a spoiler tag at 1 hour to 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. We get into spoiler territory at the end of the episode. Cool.
Yeah, because we're already at the point where like we're going to be closing in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I just want to be clear in that I didn't want to come. I don't know if I came across as being against the kid's role. It's just very interesting. I thought how the movie backgrounds him for so long, and we only mentioned him now in the last couple minutes, and that we did the same thing the movie did.
Yeah, no,
and that because that's how effective he is played in that.
And he's even featured in one of the first scenes. Too. No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. But he is featured in one of the first scares, looking out the window. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very early in the movie, and then he disappears, and then you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And even if I say, hey, oh, the kid's important, the movie puts him so far in the background that you can't really get ahead of why.
No, and I kind of like that. Where watching this the first time, I did not know where this was going, and I like that about some.
I forgot where it was going the second time,
and that's even better. But
yeah, in my head I was like, okay, this is the movie with the scene on the bridge, right? And I was like, no, not at all. This is completely different in that I'm pretty sure that Occult in this shoot in like the same forest preserve in Japan.
Yeah, I want to see that one again now.
So similar that like when I saw that in this, I was like, oh, I thought that was in a different movie. I guess it's in this one. And then I spent like an hour going, when's it coming up? I guess it's in that other movie.
and you mentioning the worms, the ectoplasmic worms, that makes me wonder if they were meant to be somehow related, connected. And I'm really curious about that now.
I'll have to check out.
It could very well be.
Mm-hmm.
Occult is great in that. Like, I might actually just watch it tonight now.
No,
It's
it's
such a good film, and it's
and
just it's free on YouTube.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's even better.
Right, yeah. But as far as Noroi, I heartily recommend this film to anybody listening that hasn't seen it. And also, if you like it, check out the director's other found footage stuff because it's very similar and maybe not quite as good from what I've seen, but it's very similar and very interesting and not like the found footage that's being made here in the West, really.
And I definitely will say that Noroi is one of the scariest movies I've ever watched.
Mm,
And there's really like no sort of, ridiculous jump scares, and it's not
right,
gory.
yeah.
It's I think an exercise in how good atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
can be.
It's just unsettling almost the whole way
Oh,
through.
very unsettling.
Any final thoughts as we kind of wrap things up?
No, I think I've covered
Yeah,
most
me
of it.
too. Zach?
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to give another shout out to what is that actor's name? I'm not sure what his character's name was, but I want to give a shout out to the crazy guy.
Okay, so that's
His name is Satoru Jitsunashi. Satoru
yeah,
Jitsunashi.
who played Hori?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay, yeah, he is good.
yeah, he's done not a whole lot of stuff, but
Yeah, only 23 credits to his name.
in J horror
Oh,
he
The
all
Grudge, Jew on
you're
The
right.
Grudge too.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
and also
Oh, and
Premonition. Yeah,
Premonition, yeah.
so
And Premonition was shot by Noroi Sugai, who did Ring Zero, so now we're there again.
see, we
But I
do
wanted
have
to
a
give him a
plan.
shout out.
Yeah, no,
And
yeah.
I want to like I just want to echo your recommendation of Japanese found footage. I want to say check out Occult, check out POV, a cursed film, and check out Cult. So that's both Cult and Occult.
Both by the same director. Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I definitely will. And you said these are available on YouTube and some
a lot
stuff?
of them are.
The two that all three that I just referenced, POV, Cult, and Occult, all three of those are available on YouTube with English subtitles.
There's a couple that are on Tubi. I don't remember which ones, but I think,
Shiromi used to be, but now it's not.
and also Record of Sweet Murderer is on Tubi, I believe. I don't love that film, but it's interesting, and it also sort of feels kind of connected to a cult. But anyway, yeah.
Wow. And then next week on that, we're not exactly sure what's going to be showing yet, but a couple of the titles, and that we mentioned them earlier, but we'll be having an episode on Uzumaki, and we'll probably be having an episode on the Pinocchio film there, because that one I think is going to Buddy wants to tie it in to the fact that Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor just came out.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
I do too, in that you can rent it now, unless you're
good.
Canadian, because you can't, even though it was filmed in Canada, and even though I know people who worked on it, I can't get a copy.
He's Canadian, right? Because
Yeah.
really
Yes, yeah, he's Canadian. It's a Canadian film, but Canada does not have a good film distribution network. We have very shitty film distribution, so most of our own films. Tragedy Girls was Canadian, and I didn't get to see it for like 2-3 years.
Well, what was I thinking of? Cronenberg is that thinking of Canadian things, he has a very small part in Margaret Atwood's Alias Grace. And I was like, when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, really? This guy? And I was like, no, it's
David or Brandon?
Sorry, what was that?
David or Brandon?
David.
Oh.
Okay, Possessor is his son's film.
But
yeah, I knew it was his son's film, but yeah, David Cronenberg plays just like a nice Victorian gentleman in Alias Grace, and I was like, I mean, I guess, why not?
if we're speaking of Cronenberg, then I will have to give a shout out to his role in the fucking, what's that, Nightbreed?
Yes,
where he plays
He's
the
great.
serial killer, and he's And in the book, the character that he plays in the book is supposed to be like 6 foot, like muscle as all can be, and yet they got Cronenberg for it, and he is delicious in that
He
role.
is great. Yeah, no, he's great.
I like that. I like it when people can wear many hats. Like Margaret Atwood cameos in Alias Grace 2 as a bitchy church lady. So I was like, you know what? Oh, Canada.
Even isn't David Cronenberg also in Jason X in a small role?
He is in Jason X at the start. Fun fact,
like
in the
cameo.
book I did, in the History of Horror book, they have his role wrong in it. But in the start, like, he is in the past. He has Jason captured. He's like, cool, this is it. But then he finds out, oh shit, we don't have him. He's not captured, and he ends up being frozen.
Yeah. And you say
David Cronenberg is running away backward, like he's running away with his back to Jason, and Jason throws a pole and impales him through the chest.
And when you say book you did, you mean book you reviewed, right?
Yeah. Book I did for Scriptophobic is what the thought was.
Okay, all right. And now we're just gonna go off on all the different subjects.
So Rachel, where can people find your stuff? You mentioned your Twitter, but can we get that again, and any websites you write for?
My Twitter handle is Ray Bolt, so RaeBolt. And I also have a website where you can find pretty much everything that I guess that I'm willing to share. It's Rachel M. Bolton at WordPress.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
And of course, in that you have articles on Scriptophobic people can check out too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Kel, you're going to be taking a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking a break, so you won't be hearing me on the next couple of episodes, but I expect to be back, and I look forward to listening to those shows. You know, it's the only episodes that I can listen to are the ones I'm not on. So
yeah, and we got a bit of writing that we'll have to get out there.
No, we do. Yeah, so a lot of stuff to still going to be busy with, and I hope that everyone continues to tune in.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much
absolutely.
for being here.
You'll have to come back sometime.
Oh yeah, I'm so willing to come back.
Cool.
Wonderful. Well, in that case, until next time, bye.
Bye.